We're good, right? Okay, got it. Okay, very good. Thank you, Niles. Appreciate that. Okay, you guys, we're going to call this meeting to order. Again, just came out of closed session to talk about personnel issues. Thank you to all the commissioners for making it on time so we can have that meeting. We're going to open up this meeting now, this version of the meeting, with a public hearing. I'm going to read it from a script, so be ready. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The purpose...
Pledge allegiance first?
Yeah, we could do that too if you want to. I was going to go do that after the public hearing, but that's fine.
He's ready to get to business.
We'll put a hold on that start, and then we'll go ahead and start with our Pledge of Allegiance. And Brian, if you could start us out, I appreciate it.
Come on, Brian, want me to help you out there?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, Brian, did you have any other particular order? You were...
You can start now, Jim.
Oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that. The rest of the team, we're okay with that? Okay, good. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The purpose of this public hearing is for the Commissioners of Poolesville to hear public comment on the proposed Resolution 001-25, which proposes to change the existing quarterly graduated water and sewer rate schedule pursuant to Poolesville Code 16.51. Copies of the proposed resolution have been available at Town Hall and online at www.poolesvillemd.gov. The record in this matter currently contains, number 1, Resolution 001-25- proposed water and sewer rates. Number 2, a copy of the February 2025, I always want to read Monocacy Monocle, containing the notice of public hearing, that's been going on for a long time. Public comment can be presented. You will need to call Town Hall by noon on Friday, February 3rd. No, that's not. You will call Town Hall by noon on February 3rd. Noon on February 3rd.
In order to sign up in advance.
So that's for today.
Yeah.
Yeah, got it. Sorry. To obtain access for the meeting, written comments are also accepted and would need to be received by 4 p.m. on Friday, February 7th. Copies of the proposed ordinance can be found at www.poolesvillemd.gov. Thank you for that, guys. Appreciate it. All right, so public hearing. We have 2 people that are signed up right now. Looks like one is in person, and then 2 are in person, and then 1 is online. This is for the public hearing. So first up is Jerry Klobakowski. Jerry, if you come up. Thank you.
Get out of my chair. Mm-hmm. Any accoutrements hanging off the belt. Good evening, Good evening, Commissioners. Happy New Year. I would have been here at the last meeting. However, I was making love to a Z-Pack for bronchitis. Anyways, before, let me just preference my marks that per the USDA, the bird flu crisis has struck 113 flocks in the past 30 days, affecting more than 19 million birds. It's also confirmed 943 dairy herds. Vast majority of those are in California. And I sent a notice to Niles a couple weeks ago, which he put out. The one thing my input to Niles didn't include was phone numbers for the Maryland Department of Agriculture was one, and then there was another one for the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, which people should also contact. So with respect to the comments on the proposed water rates, with respect to the 15% increase in water and sewer rates over 3 years, the presentation said was required to support town in water and sewer system has been increasing. The requirements to support the town's water and sewer system has been increasing every year, including salary and medical benefits improvements, which means that we're fully paying the full shot for those benefits. What are the costs, how much in dollars, along with non-personnel costs? Is it for fuel, maintenance, chemicals, sludge hauling, etc., related to maintaining our water and sewer system? My question is, why do we or can we compete for a long-term contracts to supply some of these items, which might help reduce the cost over a few years? In the category rate table, I assume 5% means a 5% increase per 1,000 gallon rate. However, when you accelerate the FY22 rates by 5%, there seems to be an error. For example, the 0 to 7 rate is now $12.79, which increased by 5% would be $13.42, $13.4295, and the 7 to 15 rate would be $15.13 versus $15.72. My point is that each of these isn't a 5% increase. It's actually a little more. And then when you get to the 35 to 40K and the 40K and up, the increase is actually 35 to 50%. The commercial rates are identical to the residential rates, and there's no upper rates, gallon usage. Why? There's only one rate for government facilities versus having a scaled increase for using above certain amounts, which does not give those entities any reason to implement more water-saving measures. I remember driving by the athletic field several years ago in a downpour, and I look over, and the athletic field sprinkler system is going full blast. Do these increases include the percentage which will go forward for paying the yearly filtration medium replacements on some of our wells and the recent loan taken out for the westerly water main replacement?
Yes.
Okay. With respect to filtration systems, do we have any idea of how many additional wells will need them and how much that will cost?
Yes, we have a presentation last meeting about
Yeah, I read the presentation, but it said, with respect to, everything was going up. Well, okay,
Oh, no, there was a well presentation.
okay, I must have missed that.
It was in January, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because I did copy the water and sewer rate study, January 2025. And all it does is it alludes to that everything has gone up, but it doesn't say what those increases were, like how many, did we use more gas or less gas? What was the cost of the gas year to year? And also, what about contracts with places that would enable us to get a level per gallon of gasoline over a period of time?
All our trucks are diesel, and so we do have long-term
diesel.
contracts with our own diesel tank that we have.
Okay, all right,
I believe you
yeah.
did mention sludge hauling, and sludge hauling, no longer will any company take long-term contracts on that
Oh, really?
because of
Okay.
PFAS and the dumping rates and how everything's changing so quickly with that.
I have an idea where you could put that, but I'm not going to say. Anyways, all right, that's my presentation for that concerning the water and sewer rates. But anyways, thank you very much.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
minutes.
Very good. Next up, Thomas Kettler, Elgin Road. No, we're going in order, man. Is it fixed gym night tonight, or what is it?
Meeting, aren't they?
So I can do this at home.
Tom Kettler, 17917 Elgin Road. Here, in my capacity as president of the Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce, I did want to compliment the commissioners on what seemed to be a fairly thoughtful evolution of the rate structure. I've long been a proponent of having, not that anybody wants to see, pay more for anything, taxes, utilities, whatever, but I've always felt that Poolesville, and as we all know, you've been around long enough, has been subsidizing for years the operation of the water and sewer plant through the general budget. And to me, I've always been, if you use it, you should pay for it. And there's also a correlation between, I get the emails from the town, and the last, if anything's an example, last 2 or 3 weeks we've had, I don't know how many water line breaks, but which is not surprising because you've got systems that are 50 years old over in the older subdivisions. So, that stuff's got to be paid for. The one thing I did want to comment on, and I'm a little confused from what Jerry said, it looked like on the commercial side you all did take into account that some of the, when it went to the higher users, you didn't, again, and correct me if I'm wrong, but on the higher usage on the commercial side, you did not, exponentially go up with those. You kind of flatten them out, which I think is important. I've talked to, like I was at Cugini's today, talking to Barbara, who owns Cugini's, and certainly the restaurants owners are appreciative of the fact that they recognize that they're high users of water, but if you take that rate, and jack it up too high, obviously it gets passed on to the restaurant, which in turn makes it even more difficult for them to operate. So from a Chamber of Commerce perspective, we appreciate your, and is that correct, or did because I heard Jerry say it's the same for commercial and residential, so I just want to be sure I don't have it in front of me. I mean, I looked at it a couple weeks ago.
I think if you guys want to
No,
talk through
exactly
that.
right. So we took a look, and you're exactly right. We
Yeah.
didn't escalate the upper levels because we took a look at, there wasn't a seasonal change from the wintertime to
Right.
the summertime, so it's not really an opportunity.
Right, it's washing dishes and running the restaurant, yeah.
Exactly, so it's the same, so we said, well, we don't want to, put an economic burden on what they can't fix
Right.
themselves. The whole thing is about conservation.
Yeah, so I do, we do appreciate, Chamber of Commerce representing multiple restaurants in town certainly appreciates that. So that really concludes my remarks on that. I didn't know, I mean, I could do it later, but if you wanted a quick update, I know,
You're here. Go ahead.
yeah, whatever. Thursday night's meeting, I just wanted to give you a report back. The Chamber of Commerce, as you all know, is having our annual dinner meeting Thursday night. We appreciate the fact that, I know Jim's gonna be out of town, but all four commissioners are coming, which is great. Niles is gonna make it. We haven't heard from Wade yet. We're assuming he's a no, but it's okay. We'll buy your dinner if you come out, Wade. But again, and we've been very, I wanted to compliment Mr. Brown and Mr. Hoeing for doing a great job of getting together the sort of, we call it now the VIP list of, local politicians and leaders that are coming to the dinner. We are now over, I've been checking the list every couple of days. We're over, I think, 20 individuals that are coming as part of the list that you and Link put together. And on that list, we're going to have the Lieutenant Governor. We're going to have Congresswoman McLean Delaney. I think I got that right. McLean, and then Mark Elridge, County Executive, some of the County Council people, representatives are coming. They unfortunately have a budget hearing that night, but they're going to try to make it to the happy hour before they have to take off before the dinner. But they recognize that they'd, like to come out and make an appearance, so we're very happy about that. I think Delegate Lily Cheese also coming, as I recall, and then, a number of other folks. So again, I appreciate the support the commissioners gave the chamber in that, and I think it'll be well worth the expenditure of the grant to pick up the tickets for those coming to the dinner. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions and appreciate the time to address you.
Anybody? Tom, thanks for the work on the dinner. It's been good working with you. Good
Yeah.
teamwork, good way to bring it together. And again, this, as I wrote earlier today, this is turning into something that's going to be the wintertime equivalent of our Poolesville Day breakfast, if we play our cards right.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good showing of
Yeah,
all the
we're up
people
to
that are coming.
about, I think when I did last count, I think we're a total of 90 attendees to between the local leaders and, of course, the chamber members and some of their families, so.
Yeah, it's an amazing turnout. It's good.
Yeah, no, we're very excited.
Excellent.
Thanks for your time.
Everybody likes the cross finds too, so.
Yeah.
Good job.
They're good, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate it, Tom. Good stuff. All right, very good. So are we going to, Bob, are you there?
Unmuted.
Yeah, I'm here.
Thank you, sir. It's your turn. Please give us your testimony.
My comments don't apply to the hearing. I've got general comments that I'd like to make during the meeting.
Okay, that's fine. So it's not related to the public hearing? You're going to be doing it for?
No.
Okay, are you ready to hang on? We'll get back to you here shortly, or?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, good stuff. Thanks, Bob. We'll talk to you in just a minute. All right, very good, everybody. So that concludes our public hearing. There's no other speakers, right? Of Resolution 001-25 that has officially been concluded. All right, very good. Thank you for that, everybody. Thanks for your feedback and conversation. All appreciated. Commissioners' announcements, committee reports. I'm going to start down on your end since we already talked about yours. And you have such a huge report to file.
Yeah, I have a very small report. For the parks, we have another meeting on Wednesday for February. Obviously, we have the fiscal year 26 budget discussion. But I also want to compliment Preston and his team again for all the water main breaks that we've had over the last 2 weeks. I actually got a chance to stop and talk to some of the guys and had a couple horns beeping at me to continue to move, but I thought it was more important to talk to the staff and give them support than, the 30 seconds it took to go get their coffee behind them. But anyhow, we have our meeting on Wednesday, and I will follow up on our next commissioner meeting with that report.
Very good, sir. Thank you for that. Brian, are you ready?
I'm ready. We'll be talking about we're getting a presentation next Wednesday with the Planning Commission on from the Trails Working Group. So they presented last month at the Parks Board, or maybe 2 months ago.
It was last
Last
month.
month, it was last month.
Them coming to see us on Wednesday. Looking forward to seeing that. Do we have a special exception about raising livestock?
Yes, correct. So there's a applicant on Bud Road who would like to, their daughter is actually involved in 4-H, that kind of stuff, for raising cattle for,
The
Eating?
yeah, Longhorn.
FFA.
Yeah. And so there's certain requirements around that they have to meet, and it's a special exception to do it. So that will go through that process.
Interesting. We also have the water and sewer allocation request for the Bricken property.
Their initial request, official request?
Their official request, yeah.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. Is that it?
That's it?
All right, could you get all the fun stuff? Good job. Ed, could you give us a Sustainable Poolesville? I'm sure you're going to lead into Sarah's Fair Access.
Sure, I'm gonna save fair access for
Okay,
Sarah here,
good.
and then I'll tag in as needed. So in terms of the Sustainable Poolesville, we met on the 22nd of January, a couple of things we covered. There was a presentation from a representative from a company called Helpsy, and what they do is they take clothes that are in any condition, and so part of it is more environmental to keep things going from the landfill. So they presented about how that organization works and how they could be helpful and partner up with the thrift store. So there's more to learn about that. And so we will continue to learn about what they do. And they're basically looking at being able to come into our town and create a system where folks who want to get rid of gently used clothes or old clothes, raggedy clothes, shoes, is that they would take that on. Their goal is to prevent that from going into the landfills. And then we also looked at Pick It Up Poolesville, and so they're going to resume after the winter. And let's see here, we also talked about the zero waste boxes, and there was a message that went out for a town that was a plus. And so there are a few sites throughout the town that are being used for the products that are being dropped off are relevant to that donation spot. For example, you have our local eye doctors where folks can drop off some of these contact lens, the cases for the contact lenses. We have across the street where the sheer elegance, some of the beauty products can be dropped off here at Town Hall, batteries. So that's moving right along. And another one that's really exciting is one of the teachers from the Global Ecology program at the high school. They came over and we talked about different ways that we can have students work with us and around the whole area of sustainability. So we're looking at having a student join in just as a student member where we can begin to have that connection where the kids can help with the Pick It Up Poolesville and different campaigns. We talked about looking at some of the students who can help with some of the education campaigns and doing some of the research that would help people have a better understanding of water and recycling, composting, and then just conservation, and then looking at stream and watershed stewardship. So that's going to be really exciting, looking at how to help some of our Poolesville students who do not have to be in the Global Ecology program, but if they have an interest in things that are environmental, this gives those students an opportunity to work under our guidance. I think it's a great opportunity, especially for some of our local kids who are looking at who are looking for ways to get involved with the town, who might not be interested in sports, who might not be interested in some of the other things. It opens up more opportunities for our young people. And that was it.
That's great.
You wanna do announcements
I'll do it
later?
after Jim.
Sarah, you're up.
All right, just a couple announcements for me first. I wanted to just wish a happy Lunar New Year to anybody in town who is celebrating Lunar New Year. Poolesville Pride Club has their monthly meetup this Friday at Locals at 6 p.m. For anybody who wants to join, that's open. And then I'll jump into Fair Access Committee. All right, we have an important hearing coming up where Link and several residents, including some of our high school swimmers, will be testifying on February 5th about the pool bubble. We're going to have some high school students there holding signs up and sharing what having year-round access to swimming would mean to them. On February 13th, we have the president of the county council, Kate Stewart, who will come out and have a tour of Poolesville and meet with some of our local leaders, including WUMCO and Poolesville seniors. We are also going to be sending out a muster email request for folks to start messaging our county council representatives about the pool bubble and community center as we get into deeper into the budget process at the county level. And then finally, as a Fair Access Committee, we are working to learn more about what in particular our agricultural producers' needs are. And so we had a really wonderful gathering last week with about 20 representatives of agriculture, both county and local. And we have a follow-up meeting later this month with Mike Sheffield and the Office of Ag. We're going to go have a tour of the farm office where that's located. And I think that's all from me.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Appreciate that. First of all, I wanted to start off my little president remarks to say that I know this has been a difficult time for a lot of people, especially with what's, the changeover in the administration and some of the changes that have been taking place. And I think the people in Poolesville need to know that, even though we're apolitical here and we won't wear it on our sleeves, that the town does care about you. And if you're listening to this and you need to talk about it or you want to need guidance, you've got 5 commissioners here that are available to be there for you if you need it, as well as town hall and town hall staff. So we don't operate in a vacuum. This town, we're out there in the country, but we do have to take care of our residents and the people that live around us. So I just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. I also wanted to, with Black History Month here in February, I know we've got some things brewing. It's going to be a month of activities for the commissioners, but at the same time, we're going to be recognizing Black History Month as time goes on. I do, as I always say, I want to recognize that our town celebrates and recognizes the contributions of our historic Black communities that surround us, as well as our African-American residents and people that have lived here, born here, lived here, educated here. Our trailblazers at Poolesville High School are amazing, and that we're going to make sure that they're recognized at when the Poolesville High School officially gets dedicated. We're also, again, never giving up on the idea of having the school site at the landfill officially recognized for what it is, a heritage site. So that's something that we're not going to give up on. And as the month goes on, you'll be hearing more from us about the activities that we do to recognize Black History Month. So I want to thank everybody for your, I've had input and contributions, and I appreciate that from everyone. On the...
I'm going to chime in with you just a minute,
Go
too.
for it, sir.
And then I would like to just commend Randy Davis for his article that's in the Monocle. And so it's... he talks about a gentleman named Noah Edward Clark and Noah Edward Clark's contributions to Poolesville and the surrounding area. and what Edward Clark was able to do for education for African Americans prior to integration. And so I would just like to encourage everyone to read this month's copy of the Monocle and look at the great article that Randy Davis put together. Some of the other things that we do have brewing, it's more will be announced, but we're looking at having an event in a couple of weeks here at Town Hall. So stay tuned.
All right, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Thanks for the fill-in, Ed. A couple of other things to close the gap on what Fair Access is doing, what Link and I have been up to in terms of some of our meetings and the conversation we're having that are driving the dialogue on both sides. We've both been selected, and we weren't really selected. We pushed our way into the Rural Branding Committee that's being, and a rural branding initiative that's being conducted by Visit Montgomery. So we're both going to be part of a focus group. And I will extend the invite to the other commissioners, and you can see what's going on there. I don't know if they need more than us, but you could actually likely sign up for one of the ones that we're not signed up for and still be a part of the focus group. And I'll copy you and let you know that, and include Kelly on it too, so that she knows you're not just coming in out of the blue. And they've got some good things that are working on, and again, we're part of the mix. So that was our goal. And they're going to get our input, and we've already given some input. They talk about doing this much, and then we talk about this much every time. So it's part of what we have to do to enlighten everybody down the line. We also sat in on, and Niles was part of this one too, we sat in on an update on White's Ferry, and if I said I had something positive to report, I'd be telling you a story. But it is interesting. There's been a lot of discussions that have been going on. There's been some negotiations going on. There's some possibilities of a deal out there. But we actually have, working with David Frazier-Oldago and Marilyn Balcom, we're coming up with some ideas to try and move the situation along. But as of now, again, till the boat crosses the river, you got to believe what you see with your eyes. So, but we are working on it. It was kind of interesting, all the work that's gone into it. It's almost a shame that all this time, effort, and money has to go into try and get two people to come together. So that's never changed. Link wrote a nice piece that I haven't had a chance to really go through it just yet, but it's to queue up Aruna for her visit to the chamber dinner. And we always like to set the table for our elected officials from highest level to lowest level. We want them to know what we're looking for and have our expectations be, top of mind wherever they appear. I think Link and I had just a quick chat on it tonight. I think we're going to release it as almost like an open letter to Aruna after she comes here for the event, for the chamber event. So that's nice, and they do respond to our texts and emails for the most part. So we'll see what we do there. Again, it'll be on Facebook. We're also working on, and we read, and so anybody that's out there listening, the thousands of people that are online right now, we do read the Facebook posts about affordable housing and what's going on with our developments in town. And we're going to respond. Link put together an outline of something that I think is going to be the basis for a response. I will definitely vet it out with all the commissioners so you can see the mindset behind trying to make the case. And we're not going to change everybody's mind about what's happening in town, right? There's some people that don't want anything to change. We get it. But there's going to be, we've got a good story to tell. And we've worked hard on it. We've been very strategic. And we don't hit the mark on everything. We've had some step backs. The first Willard go-round, part 1, was bad for the town. We recognize that. But the town's been very strategic about how we've worked on our resources, as well as the work of the Planning Commission and the direction that we've gone. It just so happens that we happen to have 4 developments going on the books, right on Main Street in town at the same time. So that's something that we know we have to have more communications with, and we're going to be definitely hearing from the residents and talking to them more about it. Again, not trying to change minds, just trying to let them know that there was a lot of strategic planning, and it's not been short term. It's been on the books. How long ago did we say the Hart's property was initially this process began with that?
It's been at least 8 years he's been going through the planning stages.
8 years. And how long has they have an allocation down behind CVS?
2007, they were granted initial allocation.
Yeah. So this isn't a mystery. We just keep talking about it, and you guys see it in every post that I do. I always include something about it. And we're going to upgrade that. I've got a text upgrade for our page so that we can have more stuff on those, more update on those developments. The more people know, the better off they are. Anyway, that's all I have for me. Is there anybody have any questions?
But just added to the developments coming
Sure.
online, that's the fruits of the good master planning done by the previous planning commissions. These are very important properties to the town of Poolesville, and they're getting infilled properly, in my opinion. And it should be something to be celebrated.
I totally agree. I think some people's hearts and minds we're not going to be able to change, but it proves that we're trying to be as strategic as possible long-term with the people, the people, the 5 people that were on the planning commission when after me and before you, and all the way down the line. So it's been an interesting ride. Town staff, again, thanks for all the hard work on this too. You guys are the ones that tie it all together for us. All right, public comment, again, unless we have anything else on our reports. Public comment, again, do you want to turn Bob back on again?
I think he's ready to go.
Hey, Bob, are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, man, thank you. It's all yours.
Okay, well, I'm again reading the monocle and all the grants that have been requested. When this grant process originally started, it was if I remember correctly, there was a limit, an upper limit on what the grants would consist of. And the grants had to be tied directly to the town of Poolesville. And I'm reading, you've got Poolesville Day, we're bringing people in. That's not the town itself. The prom party, a lot of those kids aren't even Poolesville residents. The seniors club is non-Poolesville residents. And the amounts keep going up, and we're not directly supporting the town. And I'm concerned about that. The fact that, I saw the salary structure thing that was in there. It's attached to the minutes, the meeting. It looks like our costs are going to go up across the board. We're already raising sewer rates. And the grants go up, somewhere there has to be a ceiling on this, and they break that off because, if the taxes go up, that's one thing. The sewer rates go up, that's another thing. But we keep doing this grant thing, which is driving costs in a different respect. And where do we call a timeout on this? And say, hey, that's it. No, the grants, limit the grants. And if in fact it reduces the town budget, you could offset that with a tax reduction. And if that's provided, there's no tax increase based on the salary and other things this year. So that's my concern. It just seems like the grants are getting out of hand.
Bob, I have a question for you. Are you trying to say that you want us to draw a hard line on that the grants can only be used if it's only for Poolesville residents? So are other grant acceptees that are part of our like a bigger party? So say for Poolesville Day, that we have other people come, but it's also for Poolesville people. Is that, you want us to somehow gauge like what percentage of it is people that come from out of town and apply that to the grant process?
It's not that. It just seems like we turn it into a social thing, social sciences effort here rather than directly managing the town.
Right, I get it. Okay, I mean, that's something for the commissioners to consider.
Yeah,
And
I just,
I appreciate
it's
it.
based on that monocle article with everybody wanting additional monies. And I think it's time to call the King's X on it and say, we put a top line for dollars and that's it.
I understand that, and I hear it loud and clear, but the funny part is that the Poolesville Day Committee asked for less money, and the amount of money that they asked for less more than funds the other grants that we've got in place. So in effect, the grants have gone down in a net fashion, but I know that still doesn't change your thesis that we need to take a very hard look at how much Poolesville people benefit from the grants versus the overall structure of the grants themselves.
if it reduces the taxes by a certain amount, it offsets the rates increase for water, right?
Yeah, there's something to be said about that, but our goal is still, again, to not have our taxes, to have the water users pay for the water themselves. So, but you're right, our history shows that we haven't necessarily been able to do
Yeah.
that. So
That's
I appreciate that.
That's my event for the night.
It's good to hear your voice online even. Awesome.
Well, ever since the cancer and the chemo, I don't drive at night anymore. And
How are you feeling?
well, I'm making it, but I have no stamina, and driving at night's an experience.
Well, we're glad you can make it online. So thank you for
Yeah.
chiming in tonight. We appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thanks, Bob.
All righty.
Yeah, appreciate you. And feel free to hang in for the rest of the meeting.
I will.
Okay, good. Thank you. Anybody else that's online?
No.
Okay, so Jerry signed up for a regular public comment then, as opposed to the public hearing comment. Thank you.
A couple things before I launch into about the staff salary increase. With respect to the going down with about the pool and getting a covered bubble, has the seniors been invited? Because there are senior aquatic exercises which are supposed to be good for seniors because it's less impactful on their body, on a person's body. So, I mean, have you invited anybody from the seniors to come?
Absolutely. Yeah, they've been part of the contributory testimony.
Okay, and with respect to the sludge, I understand PG County, which I thought was on WSSC, which I thought Blue Plains was part of WSSC, said they're shipping their sludge to Blue Plains. So can we ship our sludge to Blue Plains?
I'll have to check on that. I didn't think they were accepting outside.
Well, I was
Right,
just
well, that's
wondering,
something
you
we
know.
should check on, though.
But, you know, and is there any other possible wastewater treatment plant that would like to use our stuff? I don't know for
Well,
what.
there's a charge for it. Is it cheaper than taking it to a landfill?
Yeah.
Hauling is
Yeah.
expensive, getting rid of it.
Yeah, I understand it, okay. And with respect to the salary stuff, I very much appreciate and applaud the efforts of all our town staff members to keep our town passable during snowstorms, our water and sewer functioning under less than hospitable conditions, our parks in a pristine condition and the envy of many municipalities and visitors who come to town, and the need to be competitive with surrounding municipalities and public agencies. I do not want that to change. However, when you take in the totality of the salary and medical benefit increases, I think we need to tell the residents about how much taxes are going to be raised to meet that increase. And by the way, have you ever calculated the fully burdened value of salary and medical and other benefits for each salary position and grade? And, you know, I would consider also the possible loss of state and federal aid, along with possible county and state tax and fee increases when considering increases that impact our residents and businesses. And with respect to the grants, I have to applaud the Poolesville Day Committee. It's not very often that I see someone come in and request less money. But to Bob's point, they said they needed 10 grand less. That's 10 grand you said, well, we can give to somewhere else. No. My father used to say, if you count the pennies, dimes, nickels, and quarters, the dollars will follow. And he also said, just because you have a checking account with money in it and a bank account with money in it, it doesn't mean you have to spend it. So I would counsel you to be more circumspect when you decide to give money out, and maybe ask these people to look at, you know, what they are spending it on, and whether or not, you know, they're using the town's dollars in the best possible way. So, anyways, thank you very much. Have a good evening.
I do have a question for you. All right, so are you saying that, and I appreciate the commentary and the reasoning behind it, and yes, we do have a budget work session coming up, and we will be talking about it from that angle. Are you saying that you want us to tell the residents that we're raising our taxes because we're paying our people more money?
Well, where are you going to get the money from?
I'm
You got to
just-
get the
I'm-
money from
I'm just-
somebody. It's going to come from taxes on the individual, on the people, unless you have a lot of money in the budget. Now, was it, we have the rainy day fund, which we're supposed to take that money every year, and if we exceed, was it 15% of the total budget? How much?
17.5.
17.5, that goes back into the general fund. And then there was something, the highway user revenue, and then you got the tax duplication money, and then you got the solar array. And according to this, it seems like the solar array isn't being very productive, or is it? Are we making money on the solar array? I guess that's the,
No, remember, there was a 2% annual increase in the cost of it, so that's now surpassed what the power company charges for typically where we would have been. So we're 14 years into it, so we have a 20-year agreement, so once you're 20-year, we can purchase it, then it'll be free.
well, in other words, okay, so then I remember looking at this table and I couldn't find it, where you could enter in various arguments with respect to the money that you would earn, or what the Potomac Edison rate would be, and you could see when the break-even point was. And I thought we were supposed to break even either before or at 10 years, and it sounds like we haven't done that. So that idea of the solar treatment plant and how it's gonna save us all the money isn't really happening.
It's close. It's really close.
Yeah, and it's not just close. We were ahead, and now it's evened up because of the 2% increases. And now we're looking at, as we did back when we put it together,
Okay.
that we had a limited amount of time, depending on which way rates went, that we might face a deficit before it becomes free.
Okay. Now, one other thing, getting back to the water and sewer rates, I forgot one thing. How many wells, additional wells, are we gonna have to put filtration systems on?
Six.
Huh?
6.
6. And how much is that gonna cost for all 6? And is that calculated in the water and sewer
Now, we have
rates?
grant money's coming in, says the mandate from EPA, so federal money's supposed to be coming down. Hopefully it still does. We have till 2020.
I'm sorry for not smirking, but,
But it's $5.5 million.
okay, so we're getting money from the feds or the state which will do it. But then the replacement of the median, which I think you said was like 100 grand every year, so that's like 600 grand a year that the town, once those things are up and running, is gonna have to assume.
It'll actually be less,
Cost.
because they're much lower concentration of PFAS, and so it's gonna be lower, and we're working through that right now to figure out what size filters, tying a couple wells together, so we can kind of spread out the media change-outs. But it won't be 600,000, no, but there will be an added cost, for sure.
Okay, and like, but we're not, are we putting any money away towards, having it when we need it?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And the money, it's twofold. One is bringing all the systems together so they can be treated efficiently. And also too, as Wade said too, we're looking at media on some of them that is going to be, exponentially easier than it is on the heaviest ones.
Okay.
So that's our game plan. So just to clarify, I don't think it's a good idea to tell the people that we're going to raise taxes because we have to pay our staff more.
Well, you've done it, well, where's the money gonna come from?
Well, I mean, we have, I wish it was just the staff that we were paying more.
Well, maybe,
Or-
okay, in my personal opinion then, this shouldn't have been released or talked about until you got into the budget session. And then you computed all the figures, and then you looked at your budget, how much increase it was gonna be, and then you could figure out how much taxes, if you would have to
Well,
raise
that's
taxes.
what we're doing. What we're trying
Yeah.
to do is introduce these concepts building up to this budget work session. We're gonna throw it all on the table.
Well, the thing is, you're saying 4%, so the worker's gonna say, hey, we're gonna get a raise.
Well,
And one other thing, okay.
they might, yes,
All right.
that's true.
Now, I understand too that some of the people who get licenses, like at the wastewater treatment plant, we are now requiring them to sign an agreement that they will stay with the town so many years after they get that license. Because in the past, as soon as they got the Class 5 license at the wastewater treatment plant, they went to WSSC. Are there any other areas in the town that we should do the same for?
No, it's all water and
Okay.
wastewater as far as that goes.
All right.
certifications.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Good conversation. Any questions for Jerry from behind the desk here?
I wouldn't answer them anyway.
All right, thank
Have
you.
a good evening.
Take care.
Thanks, Jerry.
Appreciate it. Okay, that's it for public comment. No one else signed on? Nobody else is online? Okay, very good. Thank you. Close down the section of public comment on tonight's meeting. Approval of the minutes. Could someone make a motion, please?
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the January 21st meeting as written.
Motion made by Brian, second by anybody?
Second.
Second from Sarah. Any other questions on the minutes, changes?
No.
Nope. All in favor of approving the minutes of January 21st, 2025, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None? The minutes have been approved for January 21st, 2025. New business, events budget report. She sat here patiently waiting. We call up Tara Scholes, our events coordinator, but before we do, once again, I need to have the commissioners stand and sing happy birthday.
Back to
Next
back.
person. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Tara. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was lovely.
How old?
sweet.
I already know. I already know. You already told me.
Yeah, but that's a secret, Jeff.
Thank you, Tara, for coming up and doing your presentation. Happy birthday and having to do this on your birthday night. We really appreciate
I
it.
mean, where else would I want to be?
Oh, you were supposed to be here a couple weeks ago, but I'm not saying anything, so.
Eric, just roll with it, just roll with it.
I just ignored Jim now. Good evening. So as Jim just stated, my name is Tara Schultz. I am the event coordinator. I'm here tonight to present my proposed budget for the 25-26 event season and to give you just a quick recap of the 2024 events. In 2024, and this excludes Poolesville Day, just to be clear. So this is Springfest, Rocktoberfest, Friday on the Commons. All of those together, collectively, we had planned for 12 events for the year. Of the 12, 11 were held. The only one that did not go off was the Poolesville Tiger Fest, the elementary school, due to some budget issues there. We usually work in conjunction with them, and they just were not able to hold that this year. So that was the only one that did not happen. However, we did add a pop-up event this summer, and we now are the entrusted group for the Scarecrow Contest, which was originally WUMCO. So now that is now under the town event umbrella. So that we've added as well. So altogether, it was 14 events last year. There were some hiccups, I cannot lie. We had everything but locust. I think I told Wade and Niles. We had heat wave, we had drought, we had hurricane, you name it, we had it. So it was a great first year for me. I got it all. So that being said, all the weather events did create a little bit of a budget issue. So for 2025-26, I am asking for an $8,000 increase. Last year's budget was $65,000, so this year I'll be asking for $73,000. And what that will do is we need to increase by $2,000 to our holiday lighting budget, because now we have to pay for crossing guards to help with people attending the event and keeping it safe for everyone, which we have not historically had to pay for. And we also, the WUMCO basket auction has grown significantly. So if you were here this year, you might have noticed we had it outside in the tent because it just gets so crowded and congested in town hall that we have moved it outside so that it can continue to grow, and it is a great fundraiser for them. So we hope to continue with that. We're gonna add money to the Scarecrow Contest, $1,000, because now we have to add lights, it's growing, we're doing lots of different things, we're buying the prizes, so we need a little bit of a budget for that as well this year. Friday on the Commons, no increase. Exciting news, I'm not increasing that one. Rocktoberfest, that will stay the same again for this year. And then we get to Springfest. So Springfest last year, I know a lot of you were there. Normally, May can go either way. And last year, we had the wrong way. It was a rainy day, all day long, and so attendance was down significantly. And expenses were the same. So we are coming into this year's Spring Fest at a deficit of what they normally would have raised in sales. So we're struggling to find how we're gonna put it on to the same extent that we normally do. So that's why I'm asking for the $5,000 increase to help us build back those coffers. And then hopefully we'll have a sunny, amazing Spring Fest this year, and they'll be able to sustain next year on their own. The only other thing I wanted to talk about is an emergency fund of $7,000 that I'm requesting. So my total increase would be $15,000 for a total of $80,000. And that $7,000 comes into play as an emergency fund for weather events. So this year alone, I had to have tents for several different events due to rain with sides on them. We had to have an extra tent for the holiday lighting with a heater because it was extremely cold and we wanted to make sure people had a place to warm up. So those tents come out of my budget and they are not inexpensive. And so when we have emergencies like that, I'd like to have something set aside. Now, if it doesn't get used, great, we can roll it to next year and use it then if need be. But it would be, I'm just trying to be proactive and be planning for these kinds of things so that we're not kind of caught using the budget for other planned events and then getting into a situation at the end of the year. So that's kind of where I'm headed, what I'm thinking, and any questions?
Which of these events, like, bring in money and so in part are sustaining themselves?
So none of them sustain themselves fully.
Yeah, not fully, but
So Springfest, if it's a good year, can absolutely bring in several thousands of dollars. And that helps the following year sustain itself. Rocktoberfest generally makes a decent amount to cover a lot of the expenses. And then half of the Friday on the Commons events, we do have alcohol at those events, which that is money coming in. But they don't sustain fully themselves, but those are, so 3 Friday on the Commons, Springfest and Rocktoberfest raise money. And sponsorships too, like we try to get sponsorships for all these events. Businesses are tired, you know, we have a lot of events.
same.
Poolesville Day, we have the same, the same number of businesses and we're asking over and over and over.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sponsorship has dropped significantly over the past few years, so we're struggling there too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have 2 things. One, if we considered a year-long sponsorship, so everybody contributes money once and they get notoriety at each event.
We have, we have talked about that, and we have proposed it to a couple of businesses who said, well, we'd like to be able to decide based on what we're being asked for by every other group and organization in town. And Poolesville Day, so that, you know, Poolesville Day gets a lot of sponsorship because it's a bigger crowd. So we have tried that, not with everyone, but I think it comes down to who's asking and how many are asking every year.
Yeah. And the second thing is, you know, newly elected official, I'm starting to get text messages, when is Springfest, when is this, when is that? So do we have any dates for this year yet?
We do have a Springfest date, that's set for May 3rd, and it's gonna be sunny, and it's gonna be 60 to 70 degrees outside and no rain, so that's the plan. And then Friday on the Commons, we'll have those dates, we have our first meeting next week, and we will have all those dates figured out next week.
And then they'll go online.
And it'll go online, yep. And then you'll get postcards and all the other fun.
How much do we actually rent versus what we have?
We rent everything, pretty much, other than one tent.
Right.
All the tables and chairs for events, all the inflatables, all rent.
What's our annual rental, you think? I know, I'm just,
Would it make more sense to own them?
own him, correct.
Well, I think there's also a liability issue, and I can go to Wade for that, but with putting up tents and stuff for several of them,
Yeah, it was liability than the storage of them also, and just the staff to put them all up, and it's, the whole thing all the way around.
Right.
Yeah.
but I know for tents, just tents alone, last year, and that includes Poolesville Day, it was close to $40,000 in rentals.
Wow, that's a big number.
And
So-
a small tent cost, I think it cost $30,000, the one we purchased,
Right.
which was a smaller one. 20
Small one, that's a 10 by 20, yeah, or 20, sorry, 20 by 40, yeah.
That certainly, a
was that
tent
the
would probably be
heated
the things.
one?
No, heated, so the heated doesn't come heated, it's, you rent the tent,
Yeah.
You get
and
the
you rent,
heater.
each side has a fee, and then the heater is another fee. So it's all piecemeal from the rental companies.
It was a lifesaver.
It was a lifesaver, and we had to have it.
It was
Yeah.
worth the money.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing,
If you
that's
don't
why.
mind saying so yourself.
Yeah, I don't mind saying so myself.
What if, just looking at the tents, I know some of the larger tents would be much more expensive, but if there's some of the smaller tents, all right, would that be something? Because I know even for my own personal use, when I was looking at renting a tent versus buying a tent, I said, well, if I use this tent 3 or 4 times, I've covered the cost of the tent. And I think I might have did like a 20 by 40 or a 30 by 40 tent. So, it's maybe looking at some of that piece, not all the tents, but are there some tents where we would get the return on the investment just to own it?
I tell you what, for the budget work session, I'll have that information and talk with Preston about stores and everything, just get a better picture for us.
Can you give us a sense of attendance at any of these? Do you guys
I wish we had a
estimate-
clicker. We
I know,
comment all the
right?
time, like, we want to be able to, but it's so hard
Yeah.
to do that. Normally, attendance at Springfest on a good day is between 800 and 1,000, has been historically like a really good Springfest. Friday on the Commons, it kind of is all over the map. It depends on the month, and so July is a tough month. People are on vacations. That seems to be the month where everybody's gone. So we're strategically trying to rethink that a little bit this year. Do we move a couple more things more on the fall end of Friday on the Commons instead of trying to get people to come in a month when they're not here? So Red, White, and Brew in June, we get a great turnout. I would say between 500 and 800 people. Some of the smaller, like the family events, and this is, I'm gonna be honest, alcohol events draw people. I mean, that's the reality of it, they do. So the smaller events that are just family, like, water slides and things, we don't get the crowd that we do at the alcohol events.
If we were looking for creative ways to make the budget work this year, would it be possible to eliminate some of the Friday night at the Commons and make up for the budget in that way?
We can. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one way to do it. The other thought is to combine some of them and make them bigger. You know what I mean? Like, not bigger in the sense that we spend more money, but just combine them and have more, like have the alcohol there, but also have more activities for the kids and things. So that it's more of a bigger event versus having several smaller ones that don't get the attendance.
Yeah.
I mean, there's lots of things, and we're gonna talk about that next week.
Okay.
Because we don't want to have events where people are not coming and we're spending the money, for sure.
Thanks.
Anybody else for Tara? So I guess my takeaways is that we need to serve alcohol at the children's events. That's what you're advertising, right?
Yes, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Right, to the children, right.
All
Lower
the events I heard. all-
Right, all the events,
That's what
right.
helps the parents get through.
Right, get through the events,
The
right,
parents enjoy the events, the children's events
Yeah.
more.
right,
For
yes.
sure.
And you're also gonna mark down whether the people are residents or not residents,
Right after I click them in.
right? And,
Just
and
that's
then,
for zip code, that's it.
yeah, and then town staff, you're going to enumerate how much money town staff spends on each event so that can be factored into the budget. I'm being facetious
No, I was
again.
thinking we just get a bunch of blue tarps and we can put them out there.
Oh, really?
I do know there's a big red barn in town, we could probably put tents and storage or something in it.
Right, that's right.
I actually have been looking, not a bubble, because a bubble won't work over the commons.
Oh, okay.
It sounds
bubble.
great in theory, but there are some things out there that I am actually looking at that you can, like awnings that can have the hardware put in and then they can retract.
Like
and-
semi-permanent.
Semi-permanent. So I am looking at that,
Exploring,
just as something else
Well,
nothing else to do. so-
All kidding aside, we do appreciate you looking at it from every angle. and working with town staff as you've done so far. You've done a great job.
Thank you.
And we appreciate you and all your hard work, and we're hoping it's going to be a little easier for you this year, both weather-wise, and now that you got your feet wet.
I say bring it on,
So-
I'm ready.
Really?
Did it all first year.
I don't think you should say
Sarah said
that.
3 more events.
Yeah, I'd be careful with that one if I were you. And that red barn is rentable if you did want to inquire. It is definitely available for rent, so.
Fiscal year
It's the upper level, though. The
2027.
bottom level's pretty full, right?
Yeah, bottom level, no, that's a room that we don't rent out.
Run for the hills.
Yeah. Tara, thank you for that. Anything else for Tara?
No, thank you, Tara.
Just thank you so
Yeah,
much
great
for all
job.
you do.
Great job. Thank
for
you.
listening, and thank you for
And
consideration.
happy birthday.
Enjoy your
Thank
birthday.
you.
rest
Yeah,
of
happy
your-
birthday, right,
Go
yeah.
have fun.
All right, that was good. Thank you for that. Okay, that was some good ideas and some good dialogue, you guys. And let's throw a little more consideration on that during our budget work session.
Absolutely.
And that was good. So thank you, and Tara's great, and that's good research and conversation. All right, employee salary survey. I can let town staff, you can kick it off.
Niles, he gathered most of the
Milesy.
data for this, I got all the data and put it together, so I'll let him
Yeah,
run with it.
yes, all
Right.
yours, buddy.
So as we've sort of talked about a little bit, there's 2 goals in looking at the salary study. One was to look at sort of the competitive market in terms of attracting employees. That's one of the things we found recently in trying to fulfill positions, is how do we attract people in the first place. And then secondly is retaining our employees. We have an experienced workforce. We have a lot to offer in terms of the benefits. We've talked about that a little bit already, but sort of combining those 2 things. So just as a little background, in 2022, we did a compensation survey and capacity study, and that led to a 5% increase at that point for the water and wastewater supervisors and some entry-level employees, and 10% there as well. And then we've had our cost of living adjustments over the last couple of years have been 6.5% and 3.4%. And then we also do bonuses, and as we talked about, the healthcare coverage, we pay 100%, the town pays 100% of staff's coverage. From there, we looked at comparisons. So basically what we did is we looked at either places of comparable size or direct competition. So for the most part, they fall into one of those 2 categories. So for looking at the water and wastewater, we looked at Poolesville, ourselves obviously, Brunswick, which is up the river as it goes, but also has a water and wastewater capacity as well. So they're quite comparable. They're a little bit bigger, but they're quite comparable. Frederick, of course, is a much larger city, but is a direct competition for our employees. And then WSSC, which is obviously the big boy in terms of all our area and what they can offer. And so we are looking at that.
Do you know, what about is the population of Brunswick?
Brunswick is just around between 7,000 and 8,000.
Okay,
So it's
very comparable.
It's very comparable, but slightly bigger, and there's, and obviously compared to Montgomery County and Frederick County, there's some cost of living differences that change things.
And also different levels of county support.
Yes. And then, so we also did that, so we did that for the water and wastewater, we did it for parks and streets, and then the administrative side of things. The most obvious thing from the research was that our entry-level pay would need to rise based on the competition. That wasn't just the communities we looked at. I actually looked at a few others, like Rockville, similarly had about that same level, about $22 an hour, 22 to 23. That's what pretty much everybody had as their starting salary, especially in the water and wastewater area. So that was the clearest thing from our data. I tried to look at things in terms of level of service, so we have people who've been here 5 years, 10 years, that kind of thing, to project out. There's some variables a little bit about that in terms of trying to do a one-for-one comparison. Every municipality and place does their structure a little bit differently. So some have step increases, some don't. Some have bands, some don't. So I tried to make some assumptions that built in. And what that showed is, again, that we are a little bit under the market, somewhere between 13% for 5-year employees to about 20% as you get further up. Part of that is WSSC, in the water and wastewater comparison, pays particularly well the more you get up there. So 48% of WSSC employees make between $75,000 and $124,000 in the water in the water section of WSSC. So that was the example there. That's from a workforce study that Montgomery County asked WSSC to do, so I looked at that. Parks and streets, there's a little bit more variability. Obviously, one of the things that we've discussed is how Poolesville, we do things, a lot of people wear a lot of different hats. So some of these things are comparable and some of these aren't. Again, that starting salary, there was more variability in it. Some places had a little bit lower rates for like seasonal employees or things like that that were more in line with our base rate. But we again saw that $22 an hour was a good benchmark for for those type of entry level positions. And then as you go up, there's again a little bit more variability. One thing that we talked about a little bit earlier was about licensing. With the water and sewer, you get set licenses. For water and sewer, or for parks and streets, there isn't that same structure. For the administrative staff, we looked at that as well. There was more variability in the type of positions people had. So there's more assumptions made in there. We seem to be, again, in the senior staff and in the administrative staff, more in line with our municipalities, but more on the lower end of those ranges. So as I mentioned, with our wastewater treatment plant manager in Frederick, the starting salary in that range was $91,000. Our wastewater superintendent makes significantly more than that, or not significantly more than that, but more in that range, but with more experience. But the high end of that range was significantly less. So I'm just sort of putting us in that early to middle stage. So for the administrative staff and senior staff, it was less of that bottom of the range, or below the range, but more in the bottom section of the range. So that lead to a series of recommendations. First, the recommendation was to raise the entry-level pay to $22 an hour for those under 22 hours currently. So a new employee would start at $22 an hour. And then somebody who already makes less than $22 an hour would be raised to that level, especially if they have less than a year experience. And then from there, with what we classified as mid-level employees, to give raises on 5% with the basis of that, the base salary being $22 an hour. So again, making sure that we're bringing everybody up to the level and then giving them the increase of 5%. And then for senior staff and administrative staff, doing a 4% raise, again, to try to bring them towards the middle of that range than sort of the lower end. So that was sort of a quick summarization of what is in the study. But if you have any questions, let me know.
Let me jump in real quick, too. I just want to add on that we wanted to address, in our recommendation, we started putting them together, was to address the challenges we were having.
Yes.
At 1778, trying to get somebody in here, we put ads out, and we would get one or two applicants, and the quality of the applicants was just terrible. They wouldn't show up for interviews, so hiring somebody on was very, very difficult.
What's minimum wage right now?
$15.50. I think $15.50 in July, but.
Yeah.
But I'll just say, like, my high school daughter makes $22 an hour. She works at Barty.
Yep. Right.
So while $15 might be minimum wage, that's not really
Exactly.
competitive.
Right.
That's the mandatory minimum wage, but I would say that most people, my high school kids won't work for less than $20 an hour.
Right. Well, I think that's kind of, it's echoed everywhere.
And they're a skilled labor,
Yeah.
knowledge.
Right, and then you take these other responsibilities into
Right.
account.
Right. So that was part of it. And I also wanted to bring up that, Jerry was talking about what the tax burden's going to be. More than 50% of the salaries come from water and sewer and are paid through the rates that were also addressed, so.
Yeah.
So that was our biggest crutch, was bringing up that lower end, which then trickles up, trying to get the mid guys up and, support them better also. So that's the direction.
So you guys, it's for your consideration. Again, it's something that we'll talk about during our budget work session. Appreciate the work on town staff on it. Niles, good job.
Absolutely.
I concur across the board with where we are right this second. So, any other questions for staff?
No, I appreciate the
No.
presentation.
Yeah, just
Very thorough, thank
appreciate
you.
all the thought and
Yeah.
work you put into it. Thank you.
Keep it in consideration, then we'll have a little more further conversation. I might have one or two additional comments once we get into that session. All right, very good. So last but not least, which forgot to mention in my email out there today, my post. Crosswalk flashing sign.
Okay. Jim had contacted me about a month ago, I guess, maybe a month and a half, saying that he had had contact with Doug Robinson, the principal at the elementary school, and saying that he has some issues with Cattail Road and there's some dangerous situations going on with the kids crossing. And I think one of the crossing guards, or one of the volunteers, because they don't have a crossing guard there, actually got hit by a car. So, we went down there, we met with them, looked at the site, came up with some recommendations, some possible signage, direction of traffic, and all kinds of things. And we kind of boiled down to the best solution for starting out that everybody agreed on was to get the flashing crosswalk signs, just like we have on West Willard, and right here in front of town too. Just bring really nice attraction, and it kind of slows traffic down, makes everybody just aware of something's going on, more visibility for the kids crossing there. Of course, the county's not going to pay for it, and so it would be up to us if we want to fund something like this. Now, there's about $15,000 for the solar panels, and we get the poles made up ourselves, and we install them ourselves and maintain them. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
What's the exact location? Is it at Fisher Avenue, or is it back, the one?
No, it'll be on Cattail Road, right where that speed platform
Yeah.
is that has the crossing walk on it.
So like running parallel to Fisher Ave.
Yes.
They're
At the
crossing
bottom
from the
end.
elementary school over to the,
On Cattail, to the sidewalk on the other side of Cattail.
okay.
And we can do that, because is that school property on the other side?
So we have a 5-foot prescriptive right-of-way on that side, and we own the other side.
So you guys, so staff came up and working with Doug came up with some other, like, further recommendations. And Doug's like in a little bit of a wait and see. Let's see what this one does if we decide to move forward, and then see how other, if we have to take further recommendations and look at it a little bit deeper. But I mean, town staff did a good job of coming up like a set of recommendations that may again, if the problem persists, that we could do something in addition. But and none of them are any cheaper than like even doing what we're proposing right now. So, potentially turning Cattail Road into one way, there's things that could happen that could be difficult. So, anyway, that's what we have right now. So, do we need a recommendation for out of this for tonight? I would
Yes.
assume, and it's going to come out of our
Unrestricted reserves.
unrestricted reserves, right? Total cost. Sounds like we have. Sounds like we need.
First need to motion to transfer?
Right. Gotcha. Yes.
Or that happens after we decide on
No,
it?
no, you can amend the
We can-
budget.
we can
first,
make a
then
decision
then we make the
now.
motion to move
Yes.
forward.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
because it's for this budget.
Okay, so I make a motion to amend the FY 2025 budget by transferring $15,000 from unrestricted funds to account number 2025 for the purchase and installation of the flashing crosswalk signs.
Motion's been made by Sarah as per her script sheet there. Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second the motion.
Second from Ed. So we're making a motion to amend the budget to make this move. Now, is there going to be another vote after this, or is this does it?
That's it.
Yeah, okay. I mean, this is the approval of the spending the money and also the installation of the flashing light. Okay, good. We have a motion and we have a second. Are there any questions for town staff? Anything further? All in favor of moving forward with it, please say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? No?
And just for the record, there is $1.1 million in unrestricted reserves.
Which is quite a bit higher than our 17% part of our numbers. So, as you guys know, and we'll talk about it in the budget season, we have a recommended amount that stays in the rainy day fund. We're way above it right now, just for a variety of reasons, and mostly our closeout, I would imagine.
Same thing, so rainy day, unrestricted reserve, same thing.
Yes. Yep.
Keep the kids safe.
Yeah.
And I do
Can't
not
think of a
related
better
to
way to
this,
spend that money.
except for the, I was going for a walk today, and I'm walking down Hughes Road, and I'm like, what if we had flashing lights? Like, 'cause you get a long view there, right? What if there was flashing crosswalk signs everywhere? So I want to be cognizant of what that could really turn into. This is not in that discussion, right? I mean, this with the elementary school is very different and
It was
high
West
priority.
Willard, it was right there
Right.
by the school.
Agreed.
Yeah, no houses along the road stretch.
But just something to think about, I mean, it's good and safe and can be bad if it's too much, I think, so.
Sign pollution is something that I give our guys credit for. We talk about it all the time, and it does the sign committee too. It's like, God, do we have to put up another sign?
Right.
So, but yeah, that's a good one for that one, so. Okay, very good. So we've approved that, and we're going to make the move. And town staff, you're going to advise Doug and keep me in the loop on when it looks like we're going to be putting it together. Appreciate that. Old business, we don't have anything under that right now. Anybody? No? Town managers report?
Okay, so we did email back and forth a little bit to set a budget work session for Saturday, March 22nd. So official, we're on. Everybody good?
Yep.
And just to give you a kind of rundown of what's going to happen, so we'll have our budget work session, and typically then we'll get everybody's input, and we'll final up the budget, so we have a draft for public, which we will introduce, and I'll do a presentation, the first meeting in April. And then we will set a public hearing also for the second meeting in April. Yes?
Can I join virtually?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely.
Which one? On the March 22nd?
Yeah, the one I said that I was good for.
May not be good for. That's fine.
And then sometime maybe the 1st of May, typically we adopt the budget or amend it and then adopt it. So that's what the schedule's going to look like for us. We have, by code and charter, we have certain advertise it for 2 weeks, have a public hearing, wait 2 weeks, have another meeting, have it, so it's programmed into the code how it has to be done. Okay, so the water department, which Rick Davidson runs that, it's been, him and his crews have been very busy over the last few weeks with all these water main breaks, as we talked about earlier. They're doing a great job. He has them actually working a shift work because one of the breaks took about 18 hours, I
Yep.
think, to fix.
3 a.m. that they finished up at one point.
Do we have any place for, I don't know, for our water crew who are, or people who are plowing the streets? Like, whenever there's people working overnight and working longer hours, do we have any place, like a cot or a bed for them to like
Get a rock they can-
sleep or get rest? Because those are long, hard hours,
Reston does
and they all
have-
live far away.
Preston does have a
right?
place down there in his maintenance building that has some cots in it and stuff for his guys. The water department does not. Now that we've just finished the E&R wastewater plant upgrades, they pulled out all these filters, so they're requesting funds to be able to build a break room area. They could put some cots in there for this exact reason, which
Yeah.
you'll see in the budget line item as we draft that up. So, Yep, we
Feels
have an
really
area to do it in
reasonable.
now, so. I told them no.
Suck it up.
Again, I have a barn for
The
rent.
truck.
That's it, yep.
Oh, no.
God knows what they'll find in there.
Cots or raises, your choice.
Niles and I have been doing some training with the Montgomery County Emergency Management System and FEMA. We're required to do several hours of online training, and then we have to do in-person training at the emergency management system. Really, it's to kind of get an understanding of how emergencies and all these outside jurisdictions all come together to either come together with materials or for how they're going to address any type of big event that's going to occur, whether it be, I don't want to give examples because it's bad luck. Jim said I couldn't. You just see things that happen all the time and that we want to address in our
Yeah.
emergency system. So it's getting all the partners that are in place and all the stakeholders with the equipment that they have and what their needs may be, so.
And how to request various needs.
Like
if
who
we
you
need.
would have to call.
Exactly.
The chain of command thing.
Yeah.
It's good training stuff. That's all I have.
That's it. Okay. And for town manager report, questions from commissioners for the town staff? No, we're going to be meeting again later on this month as per our plan. In fact, I don't see us skipping any meetings as we get through the budget time period because we've got these timeframes that we've got to meet. So, any other questions? Adjournment motion? Someone?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Brian with a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second from Sarah.
All right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Tom's hack? Nope, that's it. Okay, very good. We're adjourned. Thank you.